Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So today I am going to do my interpretation of the astrology in the year ahead for 2023. I'm going to start off with, as the usual, an introduction to sort of lay the sort of appearance of what I see the astrology as, just generally speaking, and then I'll go into each of your ascendants and or sun signs as to what I feel is important for you in 2023. Now, interestingly, I am making this video just prior to that total full moon lunar eclipse that will be happening on the 8th of November 2022. So if you're listening to this early on, and when I publish this, which will probably be after, the publishing of this will be after the eclipse for sure. Just FYI, it does take a few days to process these videos. It's not just you make it and put it on YouTube. So I will discuss what I feel has happened, etc., at that eclipse and the fallout from it and potential meaning in the future in my December monthly video. All right, so let's get straight to it. Now, I personally feel, as an overarching sort of not theme, but sort of feeling of this 2023, we've got a lot of planets that are changing signs. And I feel that this 2023 could actually be a very positive year, just generally speaking from a collective level, where we actually see big changes happening that are positive. And then, of course, that translates down to an individual level. And I'll cover all that, as I said, in the individual signs. All right, so let's start going into some of the shifting in the ingresses. So when we talk about an ingress, we're just talking about a planet going into, ingressing, into a sign. So that's what we mean when we say that. So let's start off with Jupiter. So when we look at Jupiter, Jupiter's a 12-year cycle. So every 12 years, Jupiter's going to come around, right, to whatever sign it is in at that time. Now, Jupiter will go back into Aries towards literally the last few days of 2022, but it'll be fully in Aries starting in January 2023, right the way through mid-month of May 2023. So it's really just there for just under half the year. Certainly if you've got your Jupiter in Aries, you know, this is what's called your Jupiter return year. It's a very lucky year. Like Saturn, Jupiter tends to leave its big gifts and benefits towards the end of when it's finishing off in the sign, not necessarily at the beginning. Sometimes with Jupiter, what happens is events happen or things happen to you that are also unexpected, but somehow shift something for you, especially in terms of where you're supposed to be growing, right? Jupiter as an essence and an influence is really asking us, wherever it is in your chart by transit, to grow there, to expand ourselves, especially from a higher standpoint, right? But it can be like Santa Claus and bring you lots of gifts and benefits. All right, so for those that do have Jupiter in Aries, enjoy that first 6 months or so of 2023. And then, of course, Jupiter goes into Taurus. And this, I think, really will smooth over a lot of Taurians and Taurian ascendances' feathers for not only the rest of 2023, so it's mid-May. It's actually the 17th of May, 2023, Jupiter will ingress into Taurus. And it will stay there till the 25th of May, 2024. I just see this as a really positive influence, not only for Taurians and Taurian ascendants, but for sure for those folks that have been going through Uranus upsets, changes, and just real surprising things popping out of the woodwork. This Jupiter coming in here should really smooth things over and make things just a lot better, bring benefits where there were none, maybe even bring in some money for those folks that need that too, and really maybe help you grow in this area, generally speaking. We take it to a collective level. We're really looking here at growth probably in our money markets and maybe specifically in the real estate, Now, I mentioned in a previous video that there's going to be potentially in November 2022, that line in the sand where in the real estate market and maybe even in investments, things are going to take a little bit of a turn where there's a readjustment. But this now Jupiter going into Taurus has us maybe literally building more things. Construction could start increasing at this time because, of course, Taurus is the master builder, right? But certainly crops and that sort of thing could take on some new type of growth spurt where maybe we're looking differently at the way we grow our food. And certainly just from a standpoint of Jupiter being international, there may be some need for growth internationally regarding food and foodstuffs, right? Especially from mid-May onwards into, the end of May, basically 2024. But anyway, for all those Taurians, this could be something absolutely fabulous for you. And if I were to pick a month, I would pick May 2023 as a really outstanding month with regards to real solid, when we look at Taurus, it's a very solid sign. It moves slowly. It likes to get things right. It's persistent. And so we've got other things happening that will be, reinforcing this whole Jupiter in Taurus. And that's going to be, we're going to have a full moon that's going to be happening towards the end of May. But we also have an eclipse. Actually, it's a new moon, but there's a full moon that's going to happen in Scorpio, also in May. And a full moon, of course, says that the sun's going to be in Taurus. So I'd say May time period, there could be some big shifts on a collective level as well as from an individual level for those certainly that are Taurus or Taurus ascendances. So when we go up and look at Saturn, Saturn's also going to be changing signs. It's going to ingress into Pisces. And so I think this is beautiful too. If we look at Pisces operates at a very high level with regards to really our spiritual outlook on life, looking at things very compassionately. On the extreme end, martyrdom could come up. So there has to be care taken with regards to feeling you're under this obligation. So that's kind of on the negative side. This Saturn in Pisces could say you're obligated to do this. And certainly if you have something that aspects your chart, you might want to, think about that. It's great to be able to contribute to charities and to offer your services, but at the same time, you have to balance your life, right? And bring your own spirituality in to benefit you too. Now, of course, at this time, we're also going to have Neptune is still in Pisces too. So we've got these both out of the planets here, really pulsating away. They're not conjunct in 2023, and so they're operating separately, but they're still influencing spirituality, compassion, charity, that type of thing. Now, the other thing I thought with this Saturn in Pisces was also, Pisces can also rule that realm of drugs and alcohol and just living in a fantasy world too, right? And I thought I love this Saturn in here because it's going to be bringing a reality check. And my hope is that we're going to have some real treatments available for those folks, either from a psychiatric standpoint and or maybe drugs and alcohol, where we're going to see some real progress and some more permanent structures in place that can actually assist those that need it in those areas. I felt very optimistic about that. Now, Saturn takes, in terms of a cycle, Saturn is a 30-year cycle. So every 30 years, approximately, it will be coming round. So in 30 years' time, from 2023, it'll come round again into Pisces. But it won't have Neptune there. And Saturn is about a 2.5-year cycle. So we know that from 2023, we're going to have Saturn in Pisces for about 2.5 years, influencing that sign. So certainly for Pisces that maybe needed some structure, or Pisces ascendants, needed maybe some structure into their lives, this could be your answer, where, or you get some more permanent things happening in whatever area of your life is coming up with the Saturn influence, right? So Saturn ingresses into Pisces on the 8th of March, 2023, till mid-February 2026. And what's interesting in that time period where it ends being in Pisces, February 2026, we'll just at that time also have Neptune going into Aries. And I'll talk about that at a later time. That I see as the spiritual warrior, Neptune going into Aries. So if we look at the last time, certainly that we had Saturn here into Pisces, it was in February 1994. So certainly you can look back to see what was going on in February 1994 and for the 2+ years that it stayed in Pisces, and see maybe what themes came up for you, or maybe what structures were put in place, maybe even new responsibilities that you had. So some folks, it'll be maybe you got married, or you had your first child or second child, and that child now 30 years later is making their own way in life. As always, I love to hear from people, especially with long transits like this, 30-year transits. It's always useful to hear people comment, because you never know when you're actually helping somebody else, not just giving information, but helping other people that are viewers on my channel. So, in terms of what aspects Saturn may be causing from a positive and negative standpoint over its 2.5-year period in Pisces, we have squares that will be going to both Gemini and Sagittarius. So Saturn will be, at some point providing some challenges, but I always say those challenges are just asking you to think outside the box for Geminis and Sagittarius. For Virgos, of course, this is going to be an opposition for you. So, and I'll talk about this as an individual signs, but just generally speaking, it could have you having to deal with superiors, rules and regulations. Now for Cancers and Scorpios, we've got a trine happening here with Saturn. So if you've got your ascendant, sun, or a big conglomeration of planets, which I have in either Cancer or Scorpio, you can expect some real assistance here that you've not seen for 30 years with regards to either, rules and regulations working for you, or you setting down structures in your life that really work to support you, right? Those trines are there to support you. And so that's a good thing, right? Now, when we look at two other signs, we look at Taurus and Capricorn. There are sextiles that are formed to your sign with this Saturn in Pisces. And so this is a little lighter in terms of influence compared to a trine, but it provides you opportunities, should you choose to accept them. What are those opportunities? It could be opportunities to work with more senior people. It could be opportunities for you to put structures down in your life, but you have a choice. Do you want to do it or not? It could literally have, especially some Taurians, building things at this time where you get the green light to build your own home or to renovate your own home as well. But Capricorns will also have opportunities here too. It can also be new responsibilities. This may also be happening to some Taurians and Capricorns, where you have to take on additional responsibilities in your life. And this doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? It could be something like somebody gets pregnant and you have this welcome child that is now a potential in your life at this time. All right, moving down to Pluto. So Pluto is probably, Saturn's big too, but Pluto, really is a long-acting thing here. That's well over 250 years. We'll just leave it at round figures, but it's over 250 years in terms of it coming around to come into your chart again. So for the vast majority of people, if not all people, Pluto going into Aquarius is a once-in-a-lifetime thing in your lifetime, right? And so this happens on the 24th of March, 2023 to 2044. So it's a pretty long influence that we have here. I just see this as very positive too. Pluto going into Aquarius is really having us transforming a whole lot of things that are Aquarian. At its base, it will be transforming society and bringing it to a higher level. Enlightenment of how we should be treating each other is going to transform, right? I'm going to be more positive with regards to people being treated more equally here. But Aquarius also rules literally outer space and anything scientific. So I would say there's going to be great progress and great transformation with regards to our understanding of not only outer space, but science and anything in that realm that we don't know about yet. We're going to be enlightened over those years between 2023 and 2044. So stay tuned for what stuff we've not seen yet, right? Literally, we've not seen yet. That will help transform our world. Now, previously, a significant time period where we had Pluto in Aquarius was kind of around what was called a period of enlightenment. It was the US and French Civil War. I've already done a video on Pluto ingressing into Aquarius. I'll put the link down here below, and I went through all the sun signs and ascendants as well. I think you'll really enjoy it. I really tried to dig into some significant history as well to help people understand, at least get an idea of what might be ahead for you. Now, in terms of what effect this is going to have on different signs, Pluto going into Aquarius, first and foremost, is going to be opposing Leo ascendants, Leo suns, conglomeration of planets in Leo, but it really takes its time. So, I mean, Pluto in 2023 will barely get into 0 degrees and some minutes of Aquarius. It's really not going to be to the following year, 2024, 2025, that we really have Pluto exerting the effect. But make no mistake about it, my analysis tells me that we are going to see some big changes in 2023 with regards to how people are in our society are treated, right? There's going to be a bigger emphasis on fairness and tangibly being able to see that, right? Okay, so for you, Leo, this is going to have an effect of you having to deal with things probably from a standpoint of your partner. I'll get into it in your sun sign, but we'll just leave it at that. Now, when we look at squares, we're looking at a square to Taurus and, of course, to Scorpio. Now, as I said, this takes a long time for Pluto to start exerting effects. So unless you've got something at 0 degrees, or 1 degree, let's take it to there, the next few years will not be affected by squares or oppositions with Pluto at this time, right? And I'll continue to cover this over the years, of course, and bring things more into focus for you. And of course, there's always other things going on in the universe. It's not just this direct effect. Pluto at its core likes to transform things, and it also likes to illuminate the truth, right? Yeah. All right, so it forms some lovely trines to both Gemini and Libra. Okay, so this also is going to be bringing in some beautiful energy for both those signs with regards to transformation. And I'll cover a little bit more detail in each of your signs later on in the video. But this is positive energy again for transformation. So it just, with a trine, especially with a powerful planet like Pluto that likes to transform things, it will bring to Geminis and Librans just an easier, more satisfying, I guess, energy of transformation. It'll be easier to transform whatever it is that you need to transform over those many years. All right, we'll leave it at that for Pluto. All right, so the other thing that happens, of course, we have the north nodes, which currently, as I'm making this video, are still in Taurus, and they will remain into Taurus, for a little while into 2023. They actually change signs and go into Aries, which of course is the first sign of the zodiac, on the 18th of July, 2023. So certainly this is going to affect anybody that has their own north nodes in Aries. But as a sign, of course, Aries will be at the forefront with regards to changing destiny paths at this point. And it all depends, of course, what you have in Aries. But certainly the folks that have their north nodes in Aries will be very much affected by this. And of course, the opposite sign, which is Libra, is where the south nodes will be. So both Libra and Aries will have a direct effect over the next 1.5 years, from approximately mid-July to 2023. That's how long the nodes, the transiting nodes, stay in a sign. And importantly, the nodes, different than planets, they start at 29 degrees. So there's 30 degrees in every sign, right? And so the north nodes always start at the end of a sign and then go backwards. So in July 2023, those north nodes going into Aries will start at 29 degrees and then make their way back over a 1.5 years to come up to 1 degree and 0 degrees of Aries. So certainly I'm wishing a new wonderful destiny path opening up for those folks that do have their north nodes in Aries. And don't forget, we still have Chiron in Aries too. So there may be links for some people with true healing at this time, right? In terms of changing your destiny. Yeah. And I can cover that more. As I said, this is just more of an overview for folks. All right. So when we look at any of the retrogrades that are happening in 2023, obviously there's Mercury retrogrades. We've got 3 of them going on. That's typical. We can have more than that in a year, but in this year it's 3 of them. But notably, we have a Venus retrograde that's going to be happening, and it's in Leo. Now, Venus will be in Leo starting in June 2023, right the way through the first week of September. So this really covers that whole period of the summer period, right? And the summer period in many ways, especially like August time period, which is the height of summer, is really represented by the sign of Leo too. But the other thing that Leo represents is true love. It represents children. And individually, it represents our own business. And it asks us to be our authentic self. It gives us potential opportunities for anything creative as well. But the other thing that it covers is royalty. So typically we look at Leo and royalty being covered by that sign. And so I thought from a collective level that we could see between June and September 2023 some kind of big changes and developments with regards to royalty. Now, this is a Venus retrograde, so I saw this as a number of things. Certainly, when we talk about royalty, a lot of times the first thing we think of is British royalty. And for sure, we already know that this is going on with King Charles. But this time period of June to September, we'll see him changing a lot of things in royalty and the crown. There will be a lot of things that he changes up that will probably be more manifested and put into effect in September 2023. But I thought with this Venus, I thought this could actually be some planned changes for those royalty that actually are females at this time. So I saw that as 2 things, British royalty as well as royalty that has females prominent at this time. There may be some changes there as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with the monarch or the queen. There could be other women that are very much influenced in here in royalty where there will be some changes. Hopefully, all positive changes. All right, the Mercury retrogrades. The first one that we have happen in 2023 is a Mercury retrograde in Taurus. So again, we're featuring Taurus here again, right? And this is going to start on the 21st of April at 15 degrees of Taurus. And it will go direct on the 15th of May, awfully close to that Jupiter going into Taurus, right? At 5 degrees of Taurus. So this Mercury retrograde in Taurus stays in Taurus. Sometimes it changes signs, and I'll talk about that Mercury retrograde in a minute. So this could have just some of us, this could have a reconsideration on a global level regarding our money markets again, right? Foodstuffs as well. There may have to be some kind of reorganization with regards to getting foodstuffs together during this time period, April to May 2023. But certainly for Taurians, this will directly affect you as well, especially if you've got something around the 15 or 5-degree mark of Taurus. We also have a new moon, supporting this Mercury retrograde going direct. And that's going to be a few days later. The new moon in Taurus at 20. So it's just a new moon, not an eclipse. 28 degrees of Taurus happens on the 19th of May. So again, this whole time period of May 2023, I think is a big, huge time of money changes, food types things, construction, in some respects, our security of ourselves, and the earth that we live on, right, may come up for some kind of important review isn't the right word, but importance that we have to take care of, right? All right, so the next Mercury retrograde we have happen is going to be on the 23rd of August, and that will be staying in Virgo, starting at 21 degrees of Virgo, and then it'll go direct at 8 degrees of Virgo on the 15th of September. Now, classically, we have Mercury retrogrades being a little more important if the Mercury retrograde happens in a sign that rules it. And that, of course, is Virgo and Gemini. So we know that the 23rd of August right through the 15th of September 2023, that Mercury retrograde is going to be important with regards to anything to do with communications, messaging, can be contracts as well. I say with the Virgo, get all your details correct and double check anything to do with contracts and that. Should you have to be signing something, say you've taken on a new job or something, or buying a house or something, that Mercury retrograde asks you to make sure you look at the details, right? The next Mercury retrograde is going to be in Capricorn. And of course, we had a Mercury retrograde happen the end of December, or start at the end of December 2022 too. So Capricorn, you're going to be hit here again by another Mercury retrograde in 2023. That starts at 8 degrees of Capricorn on the 13th of December 2023 and goes direct, but this time it's in Sagittarius. It goes direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius on the 2nd of January 2024. And we also have with that Mercury retrograde going direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius being in a fire sign, it will trine the north nodes, certainly in Aries at that time. So that's the 2nd of Jan 2024. So it's interesting, we've got those two signs highlighted here towards the end of the year and early next year, 2024. So check to see, again, 8 degrees of Capricorn or 22 degrees of Sagittarius. This may actually affect you directly. Okay, I think that kind of wraps up what I have to say with regards to an introduction to 2023. Again, I want to leave this with the fact that I feel this is a very positive year for us and that we've got a lot to look forward to that's going to be positive for all of us. But especially for society as a whole healing and society as a whole having a better fairness to and for everyone. All right, so next I'm going to start with our individual signs. And because this is a start of a new year forecast. All right, for Capricorn. So Capricorn, you've got a few things going on here. Hooray, hooray. Pluto, generally speaking, will be out of your sign. Yeah, I know it's going to retrograde back into the latter degrees of Capricorn, but let's just say we're going to start 2023 and say that we're clearing the decks here. Pluto's out of your sign, generally speaking. And with Pluto going into Aquarius, we're now having Pluto exerting influence in your second house of earned income, your values, your possessions, that sort of thing. So this, for some Capricorns, could bring maybe a long-awaited big increase with regards to your income. You may start earning big money at this point, for sure. Or at the very least, some form of income helps transform some aspects of your life. For others, you will just start a long time period of collecting possessions. Right? That's going to happen for you here. Or this could also add in that whole value system where you totally transform what you value. You totally transform how you maybe value yourself. You totally transform the way you expect other people to value you. You may get more respect happening for you. And as a result of getting more respect and value of yourself, you get more money coming in to you. When we look at Saturn going into Pisces, that forms, along with Neptune, a lovely sextile with your sign. And so this is going to be operating in your third house. And the third house is all about communications. It does cover your siblings, your neighborhood, short trips, more like early education, writing, but generally speaking, it's all about communications. So for those Capricorns that maybe need to brush up either their writing skills, presenting skills, that sort of thing, you're going to get lots of opportunities here to change that up and to polish those things. I'm thinking of things like Toastmasters, if you've ever thought, I'm not saying every Capricorn, but it's a great group to belong to learn how to easily and in a friendly environment, learn how to present yourself and to get a reflection on how you are coming across. And it's such an easy way to do that. But for other folks, this could have you taking even small courses, improving your writing skills, because the third house also represents writing as well. For others, it may have some kind of sales or commerce type activity going on here, where maybe you'll do the writing for some kind of commercial project. But this is a 2.5-year influence, so it's not like a fly-by-night thing. For you to basically improve, you're going to be given opportunities to improve the way you communicate. Now, for those Capricorns that maybe haven't been communicating well with their siblings, this can bring in some phenomenal opportunities to increase communications with your siblings. And it could come through some more senior person or older person that may help facilitate this. When we look at anything happening in Taurus, and of course we've got the North nodes that are still there, at least early on in 2023, we've got eclipses continuing in Taurus, and we've got new moons happening, and Jupiter going into Taurus, we've got Uranus in Taurus. This all favorably trines you because you are an earth sign just like Taurus. Trines you and aspects your 5th house. Awesome, 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 Capricorn. So, really look at 2023 of making great progress. First of all, in expressing your authentic self, really being who you really are. Have confidence in that. Look to May as a month of phenomenal things happening with regards to your 5th house. So that is for those Capricorns that want to get pregnant. Awesome time to get pregnant. You're going to have all the energy there helping you to do that. For those folks that want to start their own business, great time to do it too. Maybe pick the month of May as the official month that you do that. It's a great time for creative projects. So there'll be some Capricorns that have wonderful creative projects drop in their lap, probably around the May time period. But the influence is here for a while. We're just looking at the year 2023. And they may be unusual, unexpected things happen. So these unusual, unexpected things can be an unexpected pregnancy too. Even though you may want it, you may not expect it to come at that time. Now the 5th house also rules things like your children that you may have already. So there may be some unexpected things that happen regarding your children that you hadn't accounted for. And it would all depend what else is happening in your chart. I'm not reading this as a negative thing. Just they may unexpectedly surprise you too with something that they do. Maybe they win a prize that you never thought they had a chance of winning. That could happen. It's also games of chance. As I said in my, I think it was my Cancer video, I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to win the lotto or the lottery, but certainly the influence is here to positively support that. Not guaranteeing it for you, but if you do, Capricorn, don't forget me. What else does that have? Yeah, the 5th house is your own business too, so great time to create your own business or start your own business, Capricorn. Just make sure you're being your authentic self. It's a great opportunity this year to express who you really are inside, especially if you're in some kind of creative field. So when we have Jupiter going into Aries, and that starts at the end of December 2022 all the way through kind of mid-May 2023, it will form a square with your sign, Capricorn, and it will aspect your 4th house of home, the mother, by extension your family, could be your childhood home as well. And so this just brings up like that first few months of 2023. For some Capricorns, you're going to have to be dealing with maybe some aspects of your mother or your family where maybe they don't like some path that you're taking of some sort, and you've got to work with them in some way, that it's all not straightforward. Jupiter, generally speaking, doesn't bring in really harsh aspects. So I would see this as a win-win situation. As long as you think outside the box, you're going to be able to work with your mother and or your family to make things work. I mean, it can also have you deciding to, say, buy your own home, but it's not all straightforward. It could have some folks also wanting to sell their home. Again, not all straightforward. My suggestion would be with Jupiter here is to look to an expert. So Jupiter also can represent a teacher or an expert of some sort. That person could help you manage that square in some way. Now, if it is your mother or your family, and say some counseling has to be entered into, really look carefully at producing or recommending someone like an expert in the field that can help you all resolve your differences. Because that's there right now for you, Capricorn. Okay? And it's not going to be the same for everybody. And that effect really is just there from the standpoint of the Jupiter remaining in Aries. But you will have the ongoing, of course, eclipses that will be happening in Aries as well, and the North nodes will be in Aries. So the effect of this will be a little bit longer with regards to challenges, but it doesn't mean you can't overcome them. It just means there may be changes in all those areas I mentioned, the 4th house, that you have to adapt to, right? All right, so you have another Mercury retrograde. You had a Mercury retrograde at the end of December 2022. Got another one happening this year in 2023. And so that Mercury retrograde starts at 8 degrees of Capricorn on the 13th of December. And so I would say that, you know, in that month of December, you just may have to be careful about the messages that you're putting out, that you may have to review for those folks that maybe are involved in writing of some sort or messaging. You may have to redo some things at this time. Yeah, when we look at the new moons and that for your sign, depending when you're listening to this, there's a new moon that happens on the 23rd of December, 2022. That's at 1 degree of Capricorn, 33 minutes. So I want to mention 2 new moons for you, Capricorn. Because there's a new moon that happens at 1 degree of Capricorn, 33 minutes, on the 23rd of December, 2022, I want to bring that into view for you because it's literally at the end of December, you know, butting up close to 2023. But you also are going to have a new moon that will happen in 2024. And that's going to be on the 11th of January, 2024 at 20 degrees of Capricorn. So there are 2 different degree points here, depending, you know, where you've either got your ascendant and or your sun or moon will decide whether or not there's a big direct effect of this. But Capricorn, you could have some kind of new start, literally towards the Christmas time period of 2022 that follows you into 2023. And then you start a whole new period once that new moon happens again in 2024 on the 11th of Jan. But they're 2 different degrees, fairly large difference in degrees. And I really saw that new moon on the 23rd of December, 2022 being of great influence because it's at 1 degree at the beginning of the sign in terms of real newness, right? Okay, we will end there. Take care of yourself, Capricorn. Leave me comments if you like. I always enjoy hearing from everyone. All right, everybody, that wraps up this video. Thank you for listening. I want to thank all my viewers, both my viewers as well as my listeners on Spotify. I really appreciate all your support by coming to my channels. It makes a big difference in what I can give and do for you. But I want to put out a special thanks for my clients all this year. You've made a difference to me making better videos. I've been able to purchase better equipment to bring, you know, a better quality of video to you. Hopefully you've noticed that. All right, I'm wishing everyone a great 2023. I'm very optimistic for it. A lot of things are going to be cleared up and a lot of things being put in place that'll benefit all of us. If you want your chart done, of course, I would love to do it. It's an ideal time to do it, end of the year or the beginning of the next year. Bye for now, everybody. Sending you lots of love and lots of positive energy for a great 2023. Bye for now.